prosecution is not going to get that man today. No, because I'm going to get him.
This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today, Friday, October 12th, 2012. I'm Doug Hagmann. I'm the senior host, along with my son, Joe Hagmann, the co-host. You're about to hear 3 hours of unbiased and uncensored news and analysis. Folks, this is information you need to know in these perilous times. We broadcast each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, you can find us on the internet at HomelandSecurityUS.com. Ordinarily, you can watch us as well as we are simulcast in high-def video on the Christians United Broadcasting Network. That will be back up on Monday. We are changing things around a tad, more than a tad. In fact, I think you're gonna be really impressed with our new digs come Monday. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Thank you for your belief, your trust in us as we walk through this, minefield of current events together. And I just, we so appreciate your interaction with us in our chat room. If you're listening live, thank you so much. Now tonight, it's going to be kind of a free-for-all Friday, to steal the words of Rush Limbaugh. And our call-in number, should you want to weigh in on anything topical, just give us a call at 661-244-9839. Joe, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here. It's been a long week, a lot of renovations and changes here in our internal operations, getting sound things in order, getting video.
Yeah, speaking of that, folks, those listening live to us and that are part of the chat feature, how do we sound? Can you just type in good, great? Yeah, I mean, not, how's our audio, I guess, is more appropriate. All right. Perfect. Well, and I want to thank Troy. I want to thank Troy from the Christians United Broadcasting Network. We've got so many wires, so many, and Radio Preacher Man was with Troy last night, and at midnight our time, 12:30, we were giving him a virtual tour of our soundboard, of our mixers, and the dials, buttons, switches, and everything, and RPM, thank you for being so patient as we took Troy from you. Your visiting time, we encroached on that, but it was quite the ordeal to make sure that every wire was connected properly, every button dial was at the right position, and we went through numerous sound checks. So we had basically a 6-hour show last night. But
see, we redid the audio once this week, and then we had a problem you guys couldn't hear. When we were taking calls, most of the calls were all scrambled and digitized. So
yes, and that explains, or should explain, why at some points, like if it sounded like we responded in a manner that didn't make sense, well, that's because we couldn't hear, and we had to we couldn't hear fully, and we had to kind of like fill in the blanks. It was kind of like flying blind. But that said, now I think we've got this very well hardwired, and we are moving this weekend. We're going to be moving everything to what was once known as Studio 2, which is going to be Studio 1. And here's the benefit of this, and this is important for people to really know, because when we come back live with video, our objective, and by the way, we just got all new lighting, extensive lighting for the new studio.
Yep. It is
bright and hot, but not as hot. So it's like, so we get the lights, and it's hot. So we have to then ventilate. So, it's one thing leads to another. It leads to another. But what's going to happen is this: we're going to have a couple of different angles, a couple of different cameras, and the cameras we're going to be using are going to be the type. I don't want to say the type Glenn Beck uses, perhaps maybe Alex Jones, I don't know, but they're going to be
they're good cameras.
high quality cameras that are going to be both that have hard drive capacity as well. There's a number of things that we're going to be doing, but we're going to be able to present visuals in the manner like Glenn Beck, I should say. That's our objective. It'll take a little bit of tweaking and fine tuning, but I think we can do that. And I just want to thank Troy for his. I mean, here's a guy that works. He's going to get up at the break of dawn, and here he is at 1 o'clock in the morning, helping us with the audio. So anyway, we have a lot of information to cover tonight because there are some interesting things that have taken place over the last 24 hours, or should I say the last 18, probably is more accurate.
There's been new information that has come out, or new compilations of information on Libya, the attack on Benghazi.
Yeah,
we're going to get into that tonight. Also, Amtrak joins the police state. Homeland Security has forged a new partnership with the Department of Transportation and Amtrak to battle trafficking of humans. And this is the justification for what they are going to do by implementing TSA and all this into Amtrak trains, which is something we said was coming down the road. Next will be highways. I mean, they got trains, buses, planes. The only next logical step, and the next thing is the highways. Then
then your home, then your homes. Then
street.
It's yeah. And folks, I've been wrestling with this for the last couple of hours. I'm just not sure. I talked to Joe about this when he came into the studio this afternoon. I'm not exactly certain how to really frame this. And I don't know. Involves information that we have that other. I'll tell you what. Let me just.
We'll do this. We'll start. If you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com or search Benghazi body of lies to the White House, this is where it starts.
Yeah, and let me say this. I'm not one to sound any alarms. I'm not an alarmist. I don't really think. I mean, even if the sky was falling, what are you going to do about it if the sky's falling? Okay, you can either run around like a chicken with your head cut off and say, "Hey, the sky's falling," or you can look at it and say, "Okay, what do we need to do to protect ourselves and protect others from any type of falling debris from the sky?" And that's the way I kind of like to look at it. But and I'm not. Boy, that was a bad.
And what happened this week?
Example.
What happened this week was the flip-flopping from Susan Rice, from the State Department, Hillary Clinton, to the White House. Here's an audio clip of the White House disinformation campaign on Libya.
Yeah, before you hit that button, let me just explain this. This clip, this is a montage by the administration or people representing the administration. And this is an evolving montage. It spans, probably 10 days or a couple of weeks. Folks, everything that I'm going to relate to you about what happened in the last 18 hours here revolves around this clip. This clip is, in fact, it's important to...
Yeah, you'll hear the back and forth, the mixing of words. So
this sets the stage.
Here we go.
On the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, Americans and American symbols in 2 Arab countries tonight are under attack by radical Islamist forces, and someone at the American consulate in Benghazi is dead. Unclear if that...
We're not aware of any actionable intelligence indicating that an attack on the U.S. mission in Benghazi was planned or imminent. This is not a case of protests directed at the United States.
It began spontaneously.
We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies,
sparked by this hateful video,
over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with.
Protests that arose because of the outrage video.
This video is disgusting.
Disgusting and reprehensible.
Where there is an offensive video or cartoon.
There was a hateful video.
This is in response to a video that is offensive.
You don't really believe that?
Of course, absolutely, I believe that, because in fact it's the case.
They weren't there to demonstrate about some obscure film.
The op-ed said it was obviously a terrorist attack.
The government there saying that they had warned the United States about the situation in Benghazi and that it was deteriorating.
Days before the attack, there were warnings about insufficient security in Benghazi.
Chris Stevens was the first U.S. ambassador killed in more than 30 years.
Said in the months before his death, he talked about being worried about the never-ending security threats.
I don't know how you argue we weren't caught flat-footed.
Specifically about the rise in Islamic extremism and growing al-Qaeda presence.
It leads to questions.
Does it make any sense to you, the level of, or the small level of security he apparently had with him?
The White House story crumbling.
I would say yes. They were killed in the course of a terrorist attack.
Hillary Clinton admitted that al-Qaeda was involved.
It wasn't just a mob action.
He said, it is self-evident that what happened in Benghazi was a terrorist attack.
What happened in Benghazi was a terrorist attack.
U.S. officials knew within 24 hours that this was an organized al-Qaeda attack.
Which said the U.S. government knew about al-Qaeda's involvement within 24 hours of the attack.
In the intelligence community, there are those who within the first 24 hours were saying this was a terrorist attack.
Why did Ambassador Rice give the American people bad information?
There is more proof that this was all part of an elaborate cover-up by the administration.
It's either gross incompetence and negligence, or in fact they are lying.
The president has a big investment in the narrative that not only is Osama dead, that al-Qaeda is finished.
And some of these militias are affiliated with al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda is very much alive.
Hear that al-Qaeda is alive and well. Bin Laden dead, al-Qaeda alive.
I was pretty certain, and continue to be pretty certain, that there are going to be bumps in the road.
And there you have it, folks. The flip-flopping, as you heard in the beginning, them being Hillary Clinton, Susan Rice, Barack Obama, Jay Carney, just to name a few, stated that this violence in the Libyan consulate was due to the video. They stated that emphatically. Well, a couple days ago, the State Department came out on Tuesday and said it concluded that the consulate attack in Libya stemmed from protests over an American-made video ridiculing Islam, raising further questions about why the Obama administration used that explanation, or it did not. The consulate attack did not stem from this video, and wondered why the Obama administration used that explanation for more than a week after the assailants killed the U.S. ambassador and 3 others Americans. Well, there's a problem. The State Department was just as much the one putting out the narrative that protest stemming from this video was the reason that Ambassador Stevens was killed, trying to make it look like a spontaneous attack stemming from a protest that got out of hand.
Okay.
And that's not the case.
And folks, let me explain something, because I think, and again, for those of you who've listened to the program for the last week or so, I want to just reemphasize one thing here, okay, or this concept, and please pay, I ask that you pay attention to this, because this is so important. I cannot stress this enough. The attack in Benghazi was the direct result of the actions of Russia. Please understand this. Now, we've got some time tonight to go through this. This is not being picked up, or this is slowly gaining traction, but not being picked up as it should by the mainstream media, nor is it desired that it happens that way. Here is the reason for the attack in Benghazi. The United States, through a covert operation, and those of you old enough to have lived through Iran-Contra can relate to this. And those of you even older, like me, who can relate to Vietnam, we can look at historically Vietnam and the Iran-Contra for the template that I'm about to lay out to you. and I have not really gotten into this outside of this program, in an article on HomelandSecurityUS.com and CanadaFreePress.com. And I want to thank Judy McLeod for having the journalistic integrity to post this, to publish my article. She did so at her own peril, if you will. And I mentioned the word peril. I emphasize peril because there's a level of peril here that I will disclose here momentarily. But here's the deal: the CIA is operating a black ops. They have a black ops project. If you refer to CanadaFreePress.com or HomelandSecurityUS.com and read from Benghazi to Barack, I believe it's the title. You know, I just kind of went blank there. I'm not operating from notes, so Joe, if you can bring that up on our website, that'd be great. Body of lies from Benghazi to Barack. That article is key because that article set into motion a couple of things that I was not made aware of until today. And the method in which I was made aware of this was not traditional, it was not normal, and certainly was a little bit disconcerting. But that said,
and just to give people an idea of why things came up the end of this week, was there was a House committee, a hearing or a committee on this Libyan situation.
And in fact, I didn't even know about this hearing, this House Senate Intelligence Committee hearing. I did not know about this.
And from the response you got,
then I knew about it. Then, whoops,
you touched a nerve.
I did,
in the wrong place.
And I'll explain what happened today as best I can. Okay. Because again, this offers some level of validation, but it also offers it raises questions as well. But here's the deal: folks, you remember when we had Stephen Klein on that Sunday night? I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. He's the self-appointed spokesperson for the Innocence of Muslims that film. Well, and he kind of he was talking about refugees and.
Yeah, he came on the show and we asked him questions surrounding the complaint. There's a whole another conspiracy behind the making of the video. The actors who acted in the video said the final production is nothing like what they did. There's voiceovers. The film was supposed to be made about something completely different than what it was portrayed to be when it came out. And the Stephen Klein did not address these, even though he was the spokesman.
Right.
Not only did he not address it, he really said he didn't know anything about it, which is, in my opinion, not the case. If you are the spokesman for a movie, you're going to know all about it, especially one that has reportedly taken in $5 million to make.
Well, yeah, and I was going to get into that, but you've got to ask yourself this question: why would a person with nothing to gain and everything to lose? And when I say everything to lose, I mean I'm talking about Salman Rushdie type situation, putting himself in that position. Just say, look, I'm going to take over as the spokesperson. And Stephen Klein, if you're listening, you are welcome. In fact, I would encourage you to contact me right now. I'll put you right in front of the line because, yeah, I've got some direct questions for you. But that said, here's the situation. This is a combination of old information and new information. I'm starting to sound like Lindsey Williams. Get your pens and papers out now. And I like Lindsey Williams. Please, it's not, I'm not saying anything derogatory about him. But it's almost cathartic for me to lay this out. Necessarily cathartic because of the impact that I felt today. And the impact was very direct, very personal, very in my face, and very... Well, it was just an eye-opening experience. But anyway, what the article, the body of lies from Benghazi to Barack is this: we're fighting a proxy war with Russia. not the nice Russia, but the KGB Russia, which always has been and continues to be. This is the Russia under Putin. This is the Russia that is communist and wants to export their communism to all points of the world. Okay, now the Russian communists know that they cannot overtake the U.S. militarily, so they've got to do it from within. And folks, this ties to the Michelle Bach and also the disclosures by Representative Alan West, who called out no less than 80 card-carrying members of the Communist Party USA here already serving in Congress. Okay, this is how widespread this is. At the same time, there are layers upon layers upon layers of deception and rabbit holes that lead nowhere, dry wells, white noise, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So when you clear that away, Stevens, as we've reported, Stevens operated the Iran desk early in his career. He knows everything about Syria. This guy had the good guys and the bad guys all on speed dial on his cell phone. And I might be speaking, metaphorically, but I believe that to be the case. Actually, I don't have proof of that, but I believe that's the case. In fact, I've been told it enough times about this, by a number of different people that this is in fact the case. Stevens went over to Libya. Now you have to understand as well, Ambassador Stevens was a great guy. He had worked patriotically for the intelligence agencies here in the United States, and what he was trying to do, he was just following orders. He was a patriot, at least in his mind, and based on what he was ordered to do, he was a patriot. However, what we were doing and what we are continuing to do, even in the absence of Ambassador Stevens, is this. Gaddafi, prior to 9/11, had chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. Now, the nuclear weapons, not so much. After being bombed in the 80s under Ronald Reagan, he decided, and after 9/11, Gaddafi decided, look, I'm going to start cooperating with the United States. This, of course, was at the urging of one of his sons, who really didn't want a bomb falling on his head and killing him or any members of his family. So Gaddafi decided to cooperate with the United States intelligence agencies under the Bush administration. So they were cooperating and giving out information about Al-Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood operatives throughout the Middle East. Well, certain things changed when Obama came into office. Now, Gaddafi was looked upon as a not-so-nice guy because of two reasons. One, the cooperation part of things, and folks, this is kind of complicated, so please really think this through. The weapons that were in Libya, that remained in Libya, what the media portrayed Stevens and others doing would be going over to Libya, and you'd see on occasion in the news the Americans and the Libyans destroying caches of found weapons found under Gaddafi, and saying, look, see, Gaddafi was a bad guy. These were weapons that we confiscated from Gaddafi's army, and they were going to be used against good guys, so we're destroying them. And they'd have explosions and fires and stuff, and you can find these videos on YouTube or from various news outlets. Those weapons were discarded weapons. None of those worked. That was all a dog and pony show. That's nothing. Those weapons were not operable. This is important for you to understand. But they would show this, the mainstream media would show this, at the urging of the Department of State, the United States Department of State, to show what we were doing in Libya. We were clearing the weapons out and making Libya a safer place. That's the right hand. The left hand, meanwhile, via Ambassador Stevens, under orders by the Obama administration and the Hillary Clinton State Department, were taking weapons from all across Libya through Benghazi to Derna. If you get a Libyan map out, you can see where Derna is a seaport, east about, 100 clicks east of Benghazi, and taking those, shipping them to Turkey, to a storage depot in Turkey, at which point they would then be traded to, sent from Turkey into Syria, into the Muslim Brotherhood / Al-Qaeda bad guys. And with the full force and knowledge and facilitation of the United States covert black ops. Okay, that's number one. Okay, and some of those weapons were unconventional, were chemical weapons, and still are chemical weapons. Now you've got, back in June of last year, there was a black op that was created through the CIA, a $5 million operation. This money came from, it's my belief, based on in the research and contacts, this money came from the Sinaloa drug cartel out of Mexico and the CIA. Think Mena, Arkansas, whatever I even pronounce that. Think Barry Seal type operations. Now, that said, the profits were diverted through a corporation in Virginia that served to launder this money, or served to funnel this money for the black ops, for the purpose of buying off and facilitating people, facilitating the weapons movement out of Syria to Turkey, ultimately to Syria, or out of Libya to Turkey, ultimately to Syria, at which point they would be used against Assad. Russia said, wait, to Turkey, said, wait a minute, you can't be doing this. Assad, he's our guy. Russia, Assad's our guy, and Assad and Syria exists to stop what is taking, to stop the Arab Spring at Syria. In other words, if Russia needs Syria in order to keep the Muslim revolution via the Muslim Brotherhood from extending into the Southern Russian Federation of States. I'm hoping I didn't lose anyone yet. Russia, or Syria, then becomes Putin's red line in the sand, much like Netanyahu's red line. Now Syria becomes Russia's red line. Now, folks, understand this. 90 minutes before the attack on the U.S. Embassy or the attack on the American consul in Benghazi, 90 minutes before that attack, Stevens was meeting with the Turkish consul general in Benghazi. Why Benghazi? Why not Tripoli? Well, Stevens was in Benghazi for the purpose of funneling these weapons. Did I lose anyone so far? Okay, I'm not sure. I hope I'm going quickly, but not too quickly to lose anyone. Okay, well, Russia said don't do this. Russia advised the Turkish consulate not to do this, to advise Stevens and the United States not to do this. We did not listen. Barack Hussein Obama did not listen because he is doing the bidding for Saudi Arabia via the Muslim Brotherhood. Saudi Arabia is funding some of this stuff as well, some of the more overt things with the Muslim Brotherhood. All right, so when Hillary Clinton, Barack Hussein Obama refused to listen, refused the warnings of Russia, there was a professional hit on Stevens. I don't know how else to describe it, and I could go into much greater detail here, but you guys get the idea. This was not over some lame video, but the video does come into play because there was a $5 million budget that originated in June of 2011 to create this video. And so, as it was explained to me, sometimes, look, you create something or you do something and you leave it on the shelf until you need it. Well, there were situations that led up to this pending attack. And I'm going to stop with the video right there because I'm not going to get that kind of muddies the water. But here's the deal. We've been arming the Muslim Brotherhood in Syria via Turkey thanks to Obama, who's got a soft spot in his heart for the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a Sunni sect of Islam. Stevens was spearheading this operation. Why was he in Benghazi? Because that's where the unconventional and conventional weapons, that is chemical for the unconventional, once under Gaddafi's charge, were and are being stored, then were being shipped off to Derna, eastern Libya, then to Turkey to be secreted into Russia. Putin knew this and told the Turkish ambassador to tell Stevens to stop. Again, Stevens met with the Turkish ambassador 90 minutes before he was killed. This was a warning to the U.S. because once Syria falls, if and when Syria falls to the Muslim Brotherhood, again, you got to remember the Sunni sect. It's Brotherhood is Sunni sect of Islam, like Saudi Arabia. Once Syria falls, with the help of NATO, then it clears the way for the Islamic Revolution to spread across the Stan countries in the southern part of the Russian Federation. Then oil, natural gas, coal, whatever, any type of energy, the flow of energy will be restricted to and from Russia. In the end, and this is what you have to understand, it's all about the oil. And this is about conquering as well the United States by collapsing our dollar. Because what is our dollar affixed to? Is it affixed to gold? No. Silver? No. Oil? Yes. Bingo. Ding, ding, ding. Everything else is white noise. So in other words, Russia now is saying, okay, we are going to be a little bit more aggressive now because you're trying to take us down in ways. So what we're going to do, but this was a plan all along anyway, but this kind of hastened everything up. We are now going to, we're going to try to expose what NATO and what the United States is doing, and NATO is part of the U.S. But anyway, the next step is either Iran, which is a Shia country, as well as Syria, a Shia country, via Russia, will cause either an actual or perceived threat to the Straits of Hormuz. It's going to be easy to do relative because the straits are narrow and it wouldn't take much. Once that happens, once the free flow of oil is threatened in that part of the world, the U.S. dollar is in danger of collapsing within weeks or even days. That's the plan. That is what is going to be the trigger for World War III, for a regional conflict that will spread globally. Our dollar is at risk, and this does tie into the emergency G8 or G20 summit back in August of 2012. So what this is an attack on our currency. This is all about an attack against America. This is all about a proxy war between America and Russia. That's what this is. And everything else is attempting to take your eyes off of this operation. Iran and Israel, yeah, that's a problem, but it's not the most immediate problem, nor will it be the trigger point that's going to start World War III. Bottom line, and I want to thank one of the listeners who sent this in, it's Death Race to Damascus. And it's all about Syria, and this is what's going to be the trigger point for World War III. I don't know if that explained everything, and that audio clip earlier kind of shows how desperate this administration is to avoid exposure to this. Now, there's going to be a presidential debate on foreign policy on October 23rd. I'm going to stop right there with that. Just keep that in mind. But over the last day, today I was, shall we say, I was warned off by this. Warned off in a not so subtle fashion, not to disclose, not to keep this level of interest up, by someone very clearly representing the people behind this. And folks, I just want to let you know that that did happen. I mean, look, I don't know what to say about that, except to say that, it's just the way it is. Okay. So if I have And I don't want to be, stupid about it. I mean, look, it's the bottom line is at the end of the day, it's truth. It's all about the truth. And if I can look myself in the mirror at night and say, you know what, if what I've done and what we're doing and what we do, if that is able to bring truth and then maybe save some lives, I don't know how, but if we could, then praise God. And I just want to let you know that that's what happened. So that tells me that we're pretty close to really unraveling this enigma, peeling back the layers of this onion, and to really exposing the truth of this matter. And that's it. I mean, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, I guess. I mean, so that's obviously there's an issue here. We're getting close to the truth, but then also too, there's this diversion, this intentional diversion. There's attempts to divert people from the truth, and a lot of times people in this now in a separate conversation. I had a conversation earlier today, before all this stuff happened, with a gentleman with my intelligence contact who said, it's at the end of the day, it's all about integrity, and if we can save, if we can buy time, even through, let's say through the election of Romney, if we can buy time, even if it's a month, how many souls can be saved in a month? How many souls can be saved if we can buy some time through his election? And even if you don't believe in Romney, or if you only believe that he could possibly slow down this train that's headed for this cliff, or the car that we're in heading for this cliff, it's good to be able, if we can't stop what's happening, but only slow it down, how many souls can we save during that time period? And that's what it's all about. And I don't know, folks. I mean, I just poured my heart out to you. I've got nothing else.
Yeah, no, you did a good job. And for people joining us late, after the show's over, go download the archive and go back and listen to that a few times. I know I will be doing the same thing. Yeah. Sitting here next to you, we talked about this before the show at length, and I'm still trying to grasp all the different things and still don't understand all the key elements that are going on.
You know what, Joe? I'm not sure I understand all of it. And I got to tell you, and it's by design that it is so, in one sense, it is so simple. The concept is very simple, but once you start explaining the various intricacies of the plan, it becomes so unbelievable. Like, how could, and a big part of this is compartmentalization, because there are people out there doing a job that have one piece of the puzzle, but really, they could be doing, they could be engaged in an activity that's really not for the betterment of the country, but made to believe that they are. And do we fault them for that? Of course not. Because we don't, like, in other words, what I just said on air, somebody could hear this. Oh, okay. And we know that our broadcasts are monitored by various government agencies. We've been told as much. I was told as much today. I was told a number of things today about my own schedule, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and that's never good.
Yeah, that's really not a good thing. But I don't know. But I mean, that's it. But I think that there's a lot of deception today and a lot of betrayal. And folks, we're gonna have Steve Quayle on Sunday.
Yes.
At 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific for 3 hours. It's going to be a special program. I haven't talked to Steve about this, although he does know about it. I have not had a conversation with him. He was with me, or he knew about what happened to me about 5-6 years ago with a visit that was paid to me by someone from the agency. And this was a little bit more, I don't want to say antagonistic, but I'll say antagonistic rather than, hey, here's a box of cookies. Let's talk. it didn't quite happen that way. So
no.
I just hope that I just hope that so that's it. I mean, look, I don't know what's going to happen here. I just hope, hope upon hope, that people see this for what it is, see the Libyan thing for what it is. When I say Libyan thing, I mean we lost an ambassador 33 years, the first time in 33 years.
Three other Americans. Marine, I think,
yes.
A Navy SEAL.
Yeah, Navy SEAL. And see, that's just it. And then we've got this administration who refuses to admit the reasons why. Well, they can't. They cannot admit the reasons why, because if they did, they would admit to the existence of a black ops project that is arming the very people that are going to be the trigger point for this World War III.
Not only that, but the same people that they've made laws in the United States stating, that if we are caught even associating with these people, we will be locked up indefinitely. I mean,
right.
I mean, think of Prescott Bush funding Hitler. It's the same thing. His bank was shut, or his business was shut down for trading with the enemy under the Trading with the Enemy Act. It would be the same thing. I mean, they're playing with fire here.
And I mean, I think we're all at some level we are all playing with fire, but that's why. And again, just to reiterate, kind of like a theme of the program we've been pushing. Every one of the listeners, every person listening to this program is a leader in their own circle of influence. If you listen to this program, or even if you don't, well, those people who don't are, some are too, but please understand what's going on. And if you have a comprehension as to what's going on, then you've got the ability to take a few steps back and say, you know what, I'm going to use this information to prepare myself, my family. You've got to mentally prepare, spiritually prepare, because things are, look, I don't know if this is going to be, I don't know if this is an absolute certainty. I don't know if this is going to come down as, I don't know if this is going to be, if this is etched in stone. I don't have a clue. I don't know if it can be changed, if it can be stopped. I certainly hope it can be stopped, because the people, one thing I did find out today, there are a lot more white hats than there are black hats. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know that there are a lot of white hats, people that are, working as patriots for country, for God and country. And I will say that's a litmus test that we've got, God and country. And God, country, Constitution, whatever. But yes. But there are others that are not working for God and country. They're working for the dark side. And the dark side, by the way, is the thing about the Obama's ring, his proclivity to advance the Muslim Brotherhood. These are all things that are by design. I mean, this is by design. Everything that you're hearing about today is leaked. And the other thing that was told to me by the good guys, by a good guy, I should say. Watch over the next 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, during the weekend perhaps, maybe as late as Monday, for intelligence leaks. Significant leaks by the CIA and other intelligence agencies, perhaps I just won't, you get the idea. Because Biden basically threw the intelligence agencies, the good guys, under the bus during the debate. If you go back and watch the debate, Biden really threw some people under the bus. The good guys in the intelligence services, and there are many, are not happy about this. So they're going to be leaking some information. What? I don't know. But watch for that. Pay very close attention to anything leaked.
Yeah,
that's going to happen. So God bless you folks for listening and putting up with me for that 45-minute diatribe. But that's the deal. I mean, I just poured my heart out to you. That's everything I know, and I don't know more. I mean, but one more thing. I am not deterred by anything like this. We are continuing our investigation, and we will keep you folks posted as we find out more information, because we know who is the Oliver North of this black op, and he's no Oliver North. So that's that.
Some police state news I want to get into. 2 articles, very important. One, the civilian population, they're being hunted by us, says an NYPD officer. And this is obtained from audio obtained from the Nation of Stop and Frisk carried out by the New York City Police Department. Freshly reveals the discriminatory and unprofessional way in which this controversial policy is being implemented on the city streets. Now, those who are unfamiliar with what the stop and frisk policy is, the New York City Police Department has been given these crazy powers to stop and frisk any person on the sidewalk for any reason. No probable cause, nothing like that. I mean, they can pick anybody out at random, stop you, go through your pockets, your bags, etc., etc., etc. And there are claims of teenagers to all kinds of people being just hassled by these police officers. And now some of the police are speaking out saying, you know, this is absolutely crazy. We are hunting people. That, and also, along with this Amtrak story, Amtrak joins the police state, Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Transportation, and Amtrak have made a deal to battle, or a new partnership, I should say, to battle the trafficking of humans. The DHS will train over 8,000 frontline transportation employees and Amtrak Police Department officers on how to recognize and report trafficking indicators and suspected traffickers. Those frontline employees include anyone who comes into regular contact with the public, including ticket sellers. If Wikipedia can be trusted, there are currently about 450 Amtrak police who handle law enforcement and security for the government-owned passenger train system. Soon, over 8,000 Amtrak employees will overtly and covertly examine passengers for the validity of their identification, their level of stress, how they interact, and their conversations. Now, looking over these here, it's obvious to me, by determining their level of stress, they are going to be using some type of that new biometric equipment or their new monitoring equipment, where they can, you know, tell what you had for lunch by the residue that's left on your fingertips. See if you're upset by, you know, they can test your blood pressure and your heart rate from a distance without you knowing it. Also,
they've got amazing capabilities that they've really ramped up over the last 12, 18 months.
They talk about overtly and covertly looking at examining passengers' identification. You know, papers, please.
Well, look, Alex Jones talked about this. You got to give Alex Jones a lot of credit for bringing this out initially about Amtrak, because he was the one that's saying that they're going to go. TSA will be at the train stations, and sure enough, here it is.
Well, I'll tell you what. More importantly than that, something else that I was looking into is the ID. It was brought to my attention. These IDs with the healthcare law, we will be mandated to have federal IDs, and it says driver's licenses will not be official, or won't be
they're not
used for
right. And you know, the TSA kind of piggybacking on what you said, and I know that Pete in the chat room says TSA want the taser bracelets for airline passengers. Well, that shows you the where we're going. Okay, the process. The American people have already accepted the TSA at airports. They've already accepted the grope a dope concept.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, well, you know, you can grope me. Go ahead. You can grope me or nuke me or both. I love it.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I mean, if they're going to accept that, they'll put up with anything, as has been stated by both sides, the people implementing this and the people against it. And
that's right.
They will. I mean, pretty soon, who knows what they're going to do to claim security. You know, this is for security. We saw in the Dearborn, Michigan earlier in the week, they talked about letting Terry Jones, that pastor out of Florida, speak. The mayor and the police chief decided to let him speak on a public sidewalk as if it were their decision in the first place. Well, this is what they are doing. Our Constitution is gone, okay? We have a false sense of freedom and security. And we're never...
Well, it's security theater.
Right.
And it's supposed to, what the general mindset is by the people that are instituting these policies is, let's show that, let's give them this security theater and say this is what we need to keep everyone safe. And once they accept that, we're going to take it to level 2. Okay, now you need these microchipped bracelets. And with these bracelets, not only can we track you, but we can zap you as well. Well, not zap you, but zap the bad guys.
That was
really.
I don't have that audio clip. I took that off. But there is renewed talk from an old policy idea, or implementing this at the airports. This is something they want to do. When you go to the airports, when you start to go through the security lines, they're going to put this electronic bracelet on you, which has your information on it, and it can tie you to your luggage, and it can also deliver you incapacitated at the push of a button. It is a taser bracelet, and they are considering using these on airplanes. So
that's right. But it all ties together. It all goes back to the TSA. It all goes back to John Pistoli and ultimately General Napolitano. It goes back to the implementation of these. If the Americans will accept the total the total denial of their rights at the airport to fly, let's expand the program. And it's incremental in its nature. So, yeah, fine. We're going to do it at airports now. We're going to do it at train stations, bus stations, any type of public transportation. Next, of course, and we've already seen this in a beta testing scenario on the public highways. What better way to prepare or to condition the American public for travel restrictions? Another word for martial law. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to take place. Now, again, piggybacking off that story, we have been receiving multiple reports, and I want to stress this now, multiple verified, authenticated reports of movements of military assets within the United States. One person in particular who's very familiar with the, in fact, his business is logistics or the movement of military hardware in war theaters such as Afghanistan and Iraq, looking at the movements of military hardware inside the States, is saying, look, this is the exact way, methods, and so on that we use in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is deployment in country in preparation for war. So what we're saying tonight is the movements, the military hardware is being positioned in this country, and this is not my vision, dream, thought, voices in my head talking about this. No, these are reports from military logistic people saying the only time we've ever seen the movements like this have been in the theaters of war, specifically Iraq and Afghanistan. And so that is disconcerting to me. I mean, that's troubling to me, because what is this going to be used for? What are they going to be used for? Now, I could see somebody saying, well, we want to repel an invasion of this country, or a potential foreign invasion. But who is going to invade this country in its current state? I don't think it's going to be Russia or China. Now, I know that people have said this, like Henry Groover and such. I'm not disclaiming his or discounting his accounts, not at all. I'm saying in its current state, as we stand right now as a country, I don't believe Russia or China or any other country would dare invade the United States like in a Red Dawn scenario. not in its, again, stressing this, not in its current condition, state, not with the number of weapons, not with the number of able-bodied people, not with the resistance that they would encounter, because there are much easier ways to take us down. That's not one easy way. That would be a messy, drawn-out, ugly way against a foreign entity. Now, that said, where does that leave us? Well, one can say, hey, maybe they're preparing, again, for martial law or whatever. They're preparing for something, is my point.
Yeah, they are preparing.
I'm not sure.
We see the legislation. We talked about this yesterday. The mass casualty planning. The United States is passing a bill on that in the House as part of the amendment to the Homeland Security Act of 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Also, in Israel, they're doing a exercise tomorrow, tomorrow. They're doing one is the U.S. and Israel air drill set for October 21st, the biggest drill of its kind. And the second one, more disturbing one, that this came out yesterday, it says Israel is planning a huge emergency drill for next week amid speculation and fears that the Prime Minister will order a unilateral strike on Iranian uranium enrichment facilities. The drill tests the country's ability to cope with an earthquake and assumes hypothetical mass casualties. The drill will also include a scenario simulating a toxic chemical leak at the northern coastal port of Haifa. Did I say that right? Haifa. Okay. This is the first time
I jump I screw that up too.
The home front will ever do a drill on a natural disaster rather than their usual drills on war preparedness. So this is something to watch for. This earthquake drill will be held on Sunday, October 21st, the same day as the drills with the U.S.-Israel air games or air drills. So keep your eye on that stuff because it's important. We're not the only ones preparing for mass casualties. Could it be nothing? Yes. But something definitely to make sure we keep our eye on. Also, we're going to be covering today the European Union wins the Nobel Peace Prize somehow, which is confusing to me.
Yeah, that kind of ties in with the economic aspect of what's taking place over there, which is soon to be coming to America.
Yeah, and the cybersecurity is ramping up as Leon Panetta gave a speech. We have that audio clip for you. He says that the CISPA laws are necessary to avert a cyber Pearl Harbor.
Now, remember how during the summer, CISPA, ACTA, all those, and PIPA, all the proposed legislation to ostensibly to combat copyright violations and such. No, that's not what's taking place here. This is to really throttle information on the internet, and we're going to be getting into that. In fact, do you have that clip ready?
Yeah, I can play that.
Okay, because what we're going to do, we're at the top of the first hour already. I can't believe how fast that first hour went.
I know, it did go fast.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, sharing your Friday night with us, and being part of our program. God bless every one of you. And if you're not listening to this live, thank you for listening to this on archive. We really appreciate your prayers and support. We're doing our best to get the information out there to you that you need to know in these times of peril. And I believe that the most perilous times are just ahead of us, and we're going to be addressing that on the other side of the top of the hour.
One more thing I want to add to the beginning, what you were talking about, the Libya story. During the vice presidential debate, Joe Biden said they were never aware of the security request by Stevens.
And they have to deny that. That gives them plausible deniability.
Today, it's come out. White House, Obama, and Biden were never aware of requests for more Benghazi security. Also, we're going to cover tonight disabled veteran labeled terrorist for investigating cost of security surveillance cameras. Also, an article out of NBC News, My Employees, this is about a man's business, filled with anxieties these days. I'm going to get into why this is important on a spiritual level. Also, the Hanford tank we were talking about that could possibly be leaking. I got an update on that.
Oh, I want to thank all of our listeners, in particular, one listener in particular, for giving us just a tremendous amount of information on that.
And on this U.S. cybersecurity clip that we're going to play from Leon Panetta is on the heels of this information that came out today. U.S. hackers in Iran are responsible for cyber attacks. This is U.S. authorities believe that Iranian-based hackers were responsible for cyber attacks that devastated the Persian Gulf oil and gas companies, a former U.S. government official says.
Interesting.
Just hours later, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta said this, and we're going to play this clip and go to break.
And then we're going to be back with your phone calls, 661-244-9839. We'll take your phone calls in the order in which they were received, and then we want to thank you for being part of our program.
And here's Panetta's speech on cybersecurity.
Over the last 2 years, DOD has made significant investments in forensics to address this problem of attribution, and we're seeing the returns on that investment. Potential aggressors should be aware that the United States has the capacity to locate them and to hold them accountable for their actions that may try to harm America. But we won't succeed in preventing a cyber attack through improved defenses alone. If we detect an attack that will cause significant physical destruction in the United States or kill American citizens, we need to have the option to take action against those who would attack us, to defend this nation when directed by the President. For these kinds of scenarios, the Department has developed the capability to conduct effective operations to counter threats to our national interests in cyberspace. Let me be clear that we will only do so to defend our nation, to defend our interests, to defend our allies. And we will only do so in a manner that is consistent with the policy principles and legal frameworks that the Department follows for other domains, including the law of armed conflict.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's CanadaFreePress.com on the Internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eilena Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at CanadaFreePress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
You better wake up fast and listen to this, America. The Obama campaign has launched attack squads disguised as truth teams dedicated to intimidating and silencing all political dissent carried over the internet that criticizes the Marxist Obama. Truth squads specifically focused on covering up Obama's endless trail of lies, corruption, and subversion, and using the Gestapo power of our own government to police and censor the internet and shut down websites that dare to carry the real truth about Obama's Marxist coup. Remember the names of these Gestapo-style agencies at work right there in your neighborhood. KeepingHisWord.com, KeepingGOPHonest.com, and AttackWatch.com. KGB, SS, and Gestapo-style police-state gangster organizations at work to silence the important voices of patriot dissent, some of which have already been shut down by Obama's orders. Adolf Hitler would have been proud. We're the 21st century Tea Party patriots.
Hold on to your seats. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of this Friday, October 12th edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. First hour, we covered a lot of news, or some news, and a lot on the Libyan Ambassador Stevens situation, the updates and recap of other information we had on that. We're going to be taking your calls this hour while covering some news. I wanted to start with this, then we'll go right to the phones. Disabled veteran labeled a terrorist for investigating the cost of surveillance cameras. This is a characterization, was reprisal for open records request, charges Elbert County man. A 55-year-old disabled veteran was labeled a terrorist by 3 county commissioners after he photographed security cameras at the Elbert County Administration Building in Colorado as part of an investigation. A designation the main claimed was retribution for him filing multiple open record request reports. So this veteran filed for Freedom for Information requests on the cost of these cameras being installed at his Elbert County Administration Building in Colorado. And in turn, after not receiving the documents, he went and photographed the cameras, which is not illegal and by any means, but yet he was then labeled a terrorist by 3 county commissioners. Elbert County resident Don Pimpin took pictures of the security cameras back in April as part of an open records request that sought to discover the cost of these cameras. An employee immediately reported to Mr. Pippin to the commissioners for engaging in suspicious activity. After the commissioners met on the issue, the commissioner, Kurt Schedule, asked for and received a temporary court order barring Pippin from the building, saying the back of his hair stood up when he saw what he says was footage of Pippin causing the building, or casing the building, for a possible attack, reports the Denver Post. Now, this county commissioner called this veteran, 55-year-old, where's his first name? 55-year-old Don Pippin, a terrorist, and attempted to secure a permanent protection order against him. But a judge threw out the request, noting that Pippin posed no threat to anybody. Pippin charges.
No, let me understand this. You've got a veteran, right?
Yep.
Pippin's a veteran. He's disabled. He's not a threat to anybody, but yet he's been labeled a terrorist by 3 county commissioners just for photographing security cameras.
Yeah, after his Freedom of Information
Act request was denied. Okay, that's what I thought. So, but these cameras are, and bear in mind, these cameras are not hidden. They're in full public view. They're obvious surveillance cameras. And
as our work as private investigators, we use video cameras when we do our work. This is how we secure evidence of Just to give an example.
To authenticate evidence.
Some of the work we did was insurance fraud. People say they got hurt at work.
That's right.
Walking around with a neck brace and crutches.
In court, and then, they leave court, and bam, off goes the neck brace, and off goes the crutches.
They're remodeling their house, and we use videotape to secure that. But also, I would take pictures of cameras, of signs, of all kinds of things. We travel all over to do our job, so lots of pictures were taken.
So this seems like
this
is overkill.
Yeah,
and we're seeing more and more of this blowback situation from these people, or from the people in charge. You don't, hey, if you don't toe the line, we're going to make your life miserable.
Yeah,
and this is what happened to Mr. Pippin.
And this is part of an overall bigger plan, as you said. The 2011 DHS depicted photographers who hang around for no apparent reason as terrorists and encourage the public to report them to authorities. Well, if they're sitting there taking pictures of things, they're not hanging around for no reason. They're taking pictures. But recently, federal training manuals and other documents have characterized those suspicious of government or people who ask questions as potential terrorists. A DHS-funded study that recently came out, posted by the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism at the University of Maryland, characterizes Americans who are suspicious of centralized federal authority as extreme right-wing terrorists. Americans frustrated with the mainstream media's ideologies were also identified as possible terrorists in this recent U.S. Army training document. And we see,
it's okay. Now I'm gonna kind of segue off of what you just said there. Okay, speaking about Maryland, here we are. A school in Maryland now has installed what they call what's called Palm Secure, folks. I don't know whether you heard about this or not, but this is important because what this is this is a conditioning of our young people now to accept this biometric identification system. Palm Secure is a biometric scanning system that requires elementary school students to place their hand on an infrared scanners in order to pay for their school lunch. Of course, the unique aspects of your fingerprints, your palm prints, as you know, being in the investigative field, we all know that there's it's a unique, as they say, a fingerprint. They are cataloged, and here's the issue though. What they're doing is they're cataloging and they're creating databases with the child's name and private or personal information as they are doing this. So they're saying, look, we're going to eliminate a lot of the need for cards and money. And remember when you used to carry, 35 cents in your pocket for school lunch, or, you brown bagged it? Well, no. We're going to now push it toward this Palm Secure, which is this biometric scanning system.
And folks, remember back in the case in Pennsylvania, maybe a year and a half ago, where the government or the school issued laptops to the students, and which had the cameras on them, like most new laptops do.
Right.
And they were in turn found out the school were watching the students at home, watching them as they were sleeping or showering, and they even reported somebody, one of the students, they said was doing drugs. So they made him come in and gave him a drug test, and it was found he was doing Skittles. Actually eating the candy Skittles. They saw that he was taking pills, and that's when it became public knowledge that they were spying on the students in their own bedrooms with the school laptops.
Exactly. And it's crazy. But this Palm Secure, it's going to give it does two things. It conditions the young people to accept the biometric stuff, the use of RFID chips. We've got that middle schools right now in San Antonio, Texas, to control truancy. Look, all of this stuff, folks, is really ramping up. It's difficult for us to keep track of where this RFID technology is showing up across the United States. It seems like all of a sudden the dams have opened, have burst, and now we're seeing some very refined RFID or biometric utilities being used with emphasis on students. I'm talking about elementary students as well as high school and some colleges, but these are being beta tested now As a matter of fact, San Antonio, the Student Locator Project, it's SLP. This is being beta tested at Jay High School and Jones Middle School. These are two schools in the north side district of San Antonio. This
in Buffalo.
Buffalo as well. Look, all of this is now taking place across the United States, and it's a matter of conditioning and control. It's both. I mean, you've got the conditioning part of it, but you also have the control to collect and to create databases. And folks, remember what I said back in, I don't know, this was when the TSA began taking names of those people opting out of the nuclear scan, the nuke scans, as well as the pat downs. They're taking names. They were creating a database of objectors. This, at the time, people were saying you can't prove it. You're an idiot. Yes, I mean that's what they were. I got emails to that effect, and saying if you can't. If you show me the list, well, no, I can't. Show me your source. Tell me who your source is. Of course, I can't do that. So, but that's how they went after me as a messenger. And I'm not saying that for any other reason than saying kind of like, look, this was started a couple of years ago, and now it's being in full force. So that's what I wanted to say. So I don't know how else to describe it. I know that. Let's go to the phones this hour, and I want to thank everyone for holding on. We're going to try this, and hopefully the audio will be well. So,
yeah, go ahead.
All right, we're going to go to first in, first out. 631. You're on with Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Hello, Joe. Doug, how you doing?
Good. My friend in Chelsea, Mass, right?
That's Long Island.
No.
Long Island. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry.
We got to let Homeland Security and NSA know where I am.
Look,
I don't mind that red dot being on me, baby. Just take me out whenever you want. Send me to my Lord and Savior. I'd rather be up there than down here with you scumbags. Not you guys, but them.
Yeah, it's present company excluded, right? All right.
No, of course not. And I do keep you in my prayers. And Doug, I know you're already blessed because you that time when your car was bombed, that was directed at you, and I know that. So the Lord is watching over you. And I just got to say, nobody ever said this, but you guys are blessed, and you're blessed to have each other. I only wish that I could be working with my son next to me like you are with your son. I know you must butt heads every once in a while, but
it's a blessing and a curse.
I'm sure you wouldn't want to have it any other way, both of you.
No,
okay?
Absolutely not.
No, not at all. We have some trying moments. Of course, that just happens when you're working close with. But hey, you know what? You work through them.
That's right. Now, I just have to say something, and then, if I can, and then I'll go into some other things. Now, I know some people in the chat room like me. Grasmere said something. I don't know what happened with the Pope. Now, I am Catholic. I'm an Orthodox Catholic, and I'm taking this a little different subject. But I wrote something down, and I've seen many remarks in the chat room that I did not appreciate, and my feelings were hurt. I do not know exactly what the Pope did that upset everyone, but I did hear something that he said, we all pray to the same God.
Yeah.
If he said this, did he say that, Doug?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Tell me that again.
Well, people were saying something about the Pope in the chat room.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly what it was, but I thought I heard something that the Pope said something in Arabic or something, or did something in Arabic.
Yeah, the Pope. I'm sorry, the Pope a couple days ago did give a prayer in Arabic for the first time, but this was not the problem, giving the prayer in the Arabic language. The problem is with the Pope and the position of the Pope, not just the current. Also, John Paul II has integrated for a one-world religion.
And Dave, let me just say this. We believe that the problem is the move toward the acceptance of the Islamic God Allah as being put on the same put as the same as the Judeo-Christian God, which is not correct.
Right. Are you telling me that John Paul II said that he was putting Allah like Jesus Christ?
Oh, I don't. I'm not saying that. No, and please don't. Yeah, no. I'm all.
I don't know. I don't understand what Joe was saying then. Because you mentioned John Paul II.
Yeah. I'm going through here. Popes testify that Catholicism and Islam worship are the same God, and this is an article from 2008. And the writer says this: occasionally I point out one of the biggest reasons to reject the doctrines of Rome is the Vatican dogmatically taught that God and Allah are the same, that Muslims worship the one true God.
Yet. Now that came out of Vatican II, allegedly. Now, again, you're going to have to do your own research on this because I don't know. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, and they list two popes. They say, the following is my evidence from the mouth of your two most recent popes, John Paul II and Pope Benedict XVI.
Now, to be honest with you, I don't know.
Yeah. I really don't know either. There's people inside the Vatican that really didn't like the views of John Paul II. He was too strict. There's the people in the Vatican that want women to be priests. There's in prophecy it says cardinal will go against cardinal, bishop will go against bishop, priest against priest, and I see some of that today. I don't believe John Paul II had anything to do with that. I believe, anybody could check this out and see when he was shot, he was going down to bless a medal of a girl. Well, she had a Lady of Fatima medal on, and he went down when the bullet rang out and shot him. You can look this up and find out what the doctors did. They testified that the bullet did not go straight through his body. It went around vital organs. And after he found that out, he made a pilgrimage over to Fatima, Portugal, and he thanked Our Lady of Fatima for saving his life. I do not believe he had. I don't believe he said that. And if he did, the only thing I could think of is that he's just trying to humor the Muslims to try to keep peace. It might have been the wrong thing to say. I don't agree with that, but that's the only thing I could think of. That's the only thing I could think of.
I just want to mention this. And this is nothing. I mean, nothing against you or the Catholic system or the popes, but if John Paul said this to humor or to, kind of get Muslims off his back, that's no reason or justification, in my opinion.
Correct.
Dedicated, devoted 100% to the Lord Jesus Christ. Anything else that comes out of your mouth, especially something like this, is
right.
Blasphemy.
John Paul II was very devoted to the Blessed Virgin Mary. That's the mother of Jesus. Muslims don't accept that Mary was the mother of God. John Paul II did. So I think there was a snake in the Vatican that might have put this out. That's my personal feeling. Unless you can document it from other people, other cardinals, and a group of them, I wouldn't take that literally and hold that on, because I don't have much credence in that.
Well, you know what? If we can do this, rather than talk about or focus on doctrinal issues, if we can go to the larger issue, because again, there are things in all structured religions, whether it be the Catholic religion or Protestant religion. There's issues everywhere. But if we take a couple of steps back and look at the larger issue, which is we must adhere to the fundamental teachings of the Bible and never stray from that. That's my view. Okay, but on the other hand, anyone who wants to water that Judeo-Christian and Christian doctrine down, whether it be through, attempts to introduce Islam as having this, as worshiping, as the Christians and Muslims worshiping the same God, that is not true, and we have to call them out on that. But again, let's stick to the larger issues so we don't get to and we're not running away from this, but let's not get caught up in the minutia when we have to really at this late hour really focus on the larger picture, and the larger picture is getting right with God, Jesus Christ and God, and really knowing the Bible. And we can work all the other stuff out later.
Yeah, we don't know why these people say these things. George Bush in 2004 said he believes that we all worship the same God. Many people, and the Rick Warrens, the Chrislam group, but the most important thing is that we are right with the Lord. If we are right with the Lord, we will not get bothered by any of this in a spiritual way, because in the end we know where our future lays, and
that's why we have to call or really invoke the spirit of discernment through the Holy Spirit.
The last thing I want to just say, somebody else also put down that Catholics worship Mary, and I just want to straighten this out. We do not worship Mary. We honor her because she's the mother of Jesus. Just like if I came into your house and you were my friend and I walked in and your mother said something and I just dissed her off, and your friend, how would anybody feel if somebody dissed your mother off? Wouldn't you feel upset? Or if you spoke disrespectful to your mother, wouldn't then you? Right? That's the same way. That's all. That we honor her, and of course, we do pray to her. We pray to her to be an intercessor, and I know in the Bible it doesn't say that. It doesn't make any reference to that. But sometimes, like with me, I just want to give this real thing. If somebody, I was pissed off at this guy Billy. He stole from me. I know he did, and later on, he went to my mother and asked for money. I knew he stole this. Now I wanted to do something to him. My mother. Now, what if I said that I wanted to do something? I wanted to kick his butt, maybe even knife him. And my mother was there, and she said, "David, please don't do this." And I said, "Ma, I have to." And she said, "David, please, I'm begging you, please don't do this to Billy. I'm going to look at her. I'm going to see her, and she's probably the only one that I would listen to." And that's why. This is the only example I could do is why we go, because sometimes we pray to Jesus and our prayers are not heard. For whatever reason, not all prayers are heard. They're heard, but they're not answered. Not all prayers are answered. But we pray to Mary because sometimes she has something with her son. What good son would not do anything for their mother? What good son? When my mother was alive, I would have done anything for her. And I think almost every person in the chat room would say the same thing.
Oh, sure.
Guys, and this is why Mary goes to Jesus, and a priest died and was going to be cast into hell. And this is true. He appeared on Mother Angelica, a priest, and he was before the judgment seat. He didn't die. He came back, and he was before the judgment seat of Jesus. And Jesus said to him, "You were a priest for yourself, not for me." And he was going to cast him into hell. Mary, next to him, said, she talked with him, and this and that. And he said, "Very well, Mother, he's yours." And he came back to life. And he changed his whole life around. He appeared on Mother Angelica and said, "Yes, I was a priest for myself." He must have been going to dinners and going on boat rides with the people from the parish and all this and that. But I'm just saying, that is my belief. Tomorrow's Our Lady of Fatima, and I'm going to be praying to her. And I just want to say this to everybody out there on Homeland Security. I'll be protecting my Catholic grounds, and I'll be protecting it with a rifle. And I'm saying that. So don't anybody mess, and you Muslims, don't mess with Catholic churches. I don't want to see you people burning them down like you do over in freaking Egypt. Because I'm telling you, if you start burning churches down, who knows what might happen to mosques. All right? Now, I just want to say, can I just say a couple of other things? I do watch Jack Vanapee. Jack Vanapee in the past couple of weeks has said things about where the Quran talks the blasphemies against Jesus. I love Jack Vanapee. I don't think there's going to be a rapture, but that's my own personal opinion. David Wilkinson talked about the coming storm. I love him. I think that guy is on target, and you could hear in his tone he's really a good Christian. All right, so I'm not just for Catholics. Let me tell you, over 50% of the Catholics in this country go along with homosexual unions. Over 50% of the Catholics in this country. Over 50% of Christians on Long Island are okay with gay marriage, and it is legal now in this state. And I mean, I feel horrible to live here, but I am. And I'm going to defend a place that I feel is orthodox. I mean, I have a pastor of this church, and he actually had the Quran. And how many born-agains or whatever out there would have a pastor with the Quran and say, this is what the Quran says, and it was the Feast of Christ the King. And he said, this is what the Jews believe is their king, and this is what Christians believe is their king. This is what Muslims believe. Far be it that God had a son. Far be it that there's a blessed Trinity. And he said to the parish, he says, who today do you decide is your king? So I shook his hand when I got back, and I wouldn't let it go. And I said, Father, when did you start doing this? And he just said, like, just recently. He just started to, quote verses out of the Quran. I was simply amazed. And I just want to go now and say this. I look at the audience so I can save some souls here. I look at the audience at Romney's rallies, and I see basically no blacks. Now, I know Romney has a lot of evil platforms like Obama, but there are a few differences. First, he seems to be on the side of Israel, which is a real big advantage to America as far as God is concerned.
Correct.
And all I see Obama doing is going against Christianity and being pro-Islamic.
Correct.
How can you be a black Baptist or other black denomination and support a black man who is against your Lord Jesus as you claim? He is who invites Muslims into the White House for prayers, but stays inside the White House on a national day of prayer. You people, I hate to say this, but you people are racist, in my opinion, and not led by the Holy Spirit. Just because he's black, you vote against who your Lord would want you to vote for? This black president hates Christians. He hates Israel, where you profess, Lord, your Lord died on the cross for you. Are you so blind and corrupt, my black brothers and sisters? If you are truly Christians, then wake up, for you will be held accountable who you vote for. May Jesus open your mind. I will pray for you all and your soul. All right? And the last thing I want to say, one of the last things, is that in divine mercy, which someone had thought of this while the plane in the Hudson was going down, and it miraculously everybody survived. But this is for everybody, not just Catholics, every Christian. In this hour continues Jesus. In the hour that Jesus died on the cross, which was 3 p.m. In this hour, and that could be any time, but in this hour, you can obtain everything for yourself and for others for the asking. In this hour, I will refuse nothing to the soul that makes a request of me in virtue of my passion. Remember that.
Thanks, Dave. We appreciate.
I'm sorry if I, got a little blown away there and everything, but I love everybody out there, and I just wanted to express myself, and I thank you. And like I said, I'm not making it here on Long Island. My son, he says, Dad, I can't keep on taking care of you, so I might have to drive a cab. And I just want to say this also to the veterans out there, and like me, who they know I have a rifle or whatever, and to the veterans that they, they're a threat. I remember there was a veteran that came on the show, and he says something about having work. It was hard for them to find work. Sometimes I only feel that maybe, I don't know, this is just me, maybe it's a little paranoia, but it almost seems that it's hard for me to get a job. It almost seems like maybe somebody is messing things up for me to get a job. And you know what?
Let me ask you this, because I think I've heard this before. Are you talking because you're a patriot or you're a veteran? Because
I'm a patriot. No, I'm not a veteran. No, I looked out with no.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, but still, I told you that I had a little problem when we were with Lori Roth on that show, and I had a little thing going on with law enforcement. And like I said, I have a sheriff living two apartments over to the side of me. This guy is jacked. This guy's jacked. So, I told you I had a helicopter and all that, and I know I've been tailed, but they've been lighting up on me. Not lighting, easing off on me. They're easing off on me. But what I'm trying to say is, what happens when somebody like a veteran that maybe has a rifle or two or three or whatever, what happens now if things get tight for that veteran or somebody that they maybe just don't, maybe they feel like me? I'm a damn good shot with an AR.
Yeah,
I'm a damn good shot, and I could take a pistol grip shotgun 12 gauge and hold that up just like a regular pistol and shoot it on a 20-inch barrel.
Well,
what does at 60 years old too? What does a veteran with maybe a couple of rifles and he's getting hard to make it? You walk into a gun shop. And you go over there and you see all those nice new guns and everything, rifles. Then you look over to the side, and then you see a little older rifles. You know what those older rifles are? Those are all porn. People that just had to come in and get some money for those rifles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I do.
In other words, if they make it rough on veterans, if they make it rough on people, and they might stop them from getting work, what are they going to do? They're going to walk into a pawn shop and bring the rifle in and say, hey, how much will you give me for this rifle?
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
The Long Island accent made pawn into porn for me, and sorry. Okay. Well, you know what, Dave? Look, you've articulated your points very well. But again, at the end of the day, and when it's all said and done, the big picture is this:
Yeah, I know.
we have to know that we're worshiping the right God, and that's the one true God. And all of the other doctrinal issues are less important when we know that we're on the right track there. And of course, let the Bible be our guide. So, but well said. Thank you so much, my friend. And you just keep.
Doug, I just want to say, you're welcome. My pastor, he has a "Don't Tread on Me" bumper sticker. I can't believe it. And just hang in there, Mr. President. Soon you won't have to do any more debates. We don't want your brain to overheat or those horns to come out with those demon eyes. You can take $100 million vacation, maybe to Venezuela with Air Force 1, 2, 3, and 4, and take maybe 2 naval fleets for your protection. We don't want anything to happen to our patriotic, outstanding president that loves our Constitution. Yeah, you believe that? Then the Holy Quran is really a holy book. God bless everybody. Thank you much.
Thanks, Dave.
Take care, sir.
God bless. Take care.
All right, Dave in Long Island to 1. Now we're going to Boston, or Chelsea, I should say. I think this is Jeff from Chelsea, Massachusetts. Jeff.
Well, guys, how you doing? I got some good stuff to say. Boy, that guy was long-winded. I'll have to say to that last caller, there's no purgatory in the Bible, and I pray to Jesus, not to a Catholic priest. That's my rebuttal to him. But here's my main subject. Two things. One, the apathy of the people in this country and the police state. Okay? First off, the apathy. I worked in a bakery a long time ago, and this is one of my favorite stories to share. I was working across from this other baker, and he knows I'm a born-again Christian, and he said to me, Jeff, I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't want you to talk about religion or geopolitics. All I want to talk about is sports and porn. You got that? Brother, my spirit was so grieved. But this is America today, and the police state. The root of all this police state stuff, gang stalking, everything, is Marcus Wolf and Evgeny Primakov that Bush brought into Homeland Security. If you don't know who Marcus Wolf is, he is Stasi. He is the chief of the East German Stasi, where all this gang stalking stuff comes from, and Evgeny Primakov is a KGB director from the Soviet Union. Both brought in, and their brains were picked for Homeland Security. And by the way, Marcus Wolf also trained the Cubans. You can find that out on Wikipedia on the Stasi, because I wanted to do some research on this because I'm being gang stalked, and I'm telling you something. This police state stuff is going to bite a lot of people in the rear end. And if you don't know what gang stalking is, it has a volume control on it. It can be anywhere from people doing impersonations of the victim to doing street theater, all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's rooted in the Homeland Security. That's what I really believe, and it's going to turn into death squad. I mean, if you want to know where America is going to, just study other countries around the world, where churches get burned down, where Christians and political dissidents get shot in the head, because the Stasi used to take prisoners and just shoot them in the back of the head or behead them. I mean, and because I wanted to do some research on the East German Stasi, and people don't care. People don't care about Libya. I mean, I work in the Boston area. People don't care. It's all about bacon and having money in the pocket, and you ruffle their people's bacon and go after their gods. They're going to revolt in a nasty way, but you guys know this. You guys do some very good work, and please respond to the gang stalking. If you know about the roots of it and stuff like that, that would be very much appreciated. Have a great night, guys, and God bless.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for the call. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as it sounds like we have awkward pauses of silence, it is because we do, as we are tinkering with the knobs on the audio, trying to get it right in our headphones so it's not overly screeching or...
Am I messing you up?
No. Well,
is it too loud now?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
But yeah, Dave and Jeff, thank you for the call. We got some other callers here. We got
interesting comments.
731. We're going to now, and then 814. So 731. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Joe and Doug, hey, this is Lucy from Tennessee.
Hey, Lucy.
I'm still back on all of what you said, Doug, at the beginning of the program. And I read the Usserman report today, which I doubt that y'all had time to do. And Jay Carney came out and said that Obama and Biden did not know anything about all of this, and they are blaming it, so to speak, on Hillary Clinton. And they're sort of throwing her under the bus. And the Ulcer man was, no, it was not the Ulcer man, it was hillbuzz.org. Hillbuzz.org.
Yep.
He was saying that Hillary will not be thrown under the bus, and that she is going maybe to start opening up and telling some truth about Obama. So I wanted to share that. And then all day long, not knowing anything about what this program was going to be about, the Lord has just had this verse on my mind, and I'd like to read it to y'all. It's from Luke 12. Jesus said, "My friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, and after that have no more than they can do. But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who, after he has killed, has power to cast into hell. Yes, I say to you, fear God."
Amen.
And I just like we all need to remember that all this going on, the main thing we need to do is to fear God, to walk in his ways, to honor our Lord Jesus, and he will take care of it, and we must listen to him. And I just appreciate y'all, and I'll get off, and thank you for that explanation, Doug, about all that's going on. I've got to listen to it again to take it in.
Well, Lucy, let me just add one thing to that explanation. And it's kind of sobering when you have somebody tell you or ask you during the course of a conversation, "Hey, are you still," or "Hey, you're still walking your dog at night, huh?" It kind of brings it home a little bit, and but it's interesting because of the Luke passage you read fits so well, and if you did that without knowing what the program was about, then certainly I feel.
Oh, I knew nothing, but I kept thinking I've got to read this verse on the program tonight, and I had my Bible, and then you started saying all this stuff, and I thought, wow, now I know why. Now I know.
Well, the Spirit, God works, the divine works.
Yes.
Incredible. And I just can't believe that people have lack faith. I mean, what else is there but faith and trust in God and
with that, true believers saved in Christ should not be offended or depressed by our own people coming after us personally.
Sure, yeah.
We need to walk in confidence with the Lord. We need to proclaim the Lord and his word above all. Would people rather have the honor of men or the honor of God? And that's what we need to ask ourselves in what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. And,
yeah.
And thank you so much for the many emails that you've sent me with information, because it keeps us sharp, and it points us in the proper directions. And without that, and as well as others, but since you're on the phone here, appreciate that very much. So, but thank you so much. God bless you, and thank you for that verse. It's encouraging, and I just bookmarked that here in my Bible.
Okay. We just got to hang on to him. Hang on to him. All right, man, y'all rest in peace tonight. God's angels are watching over you. And we're praying for you.
I believe that, and but thank you so very much. God bless, and thanks for the call.
Thanks, Lucy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See, we've got the greatest listeners, or greatest audience in the world.
Absolutely.
We really do.
Romans 5, chapter 5. I just want to read this real quick. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand and rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. And not only so, but we glory tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts, and by the Holy Ghost which is given unto us. For when we were yet without strength, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. And it goes on. And that's, Christ died for us, for our sins, so that we may be forgiven. Also, John chapter 12. And let me find the verse. John chapter 12, 7. And it says, I lost the verse here. I'll find it. But the message being that we put our faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, and Him alone. No one enters to the Father but through the Son. And that is what we need to concentrate on when dealing with these doctrines that are in the Bible, are talked about. The New Age philosophy is being fulfilled through Bible prophecy now with these doctrines of devils. And I'm not saying anything about any denomination, etc., etc. The true believers in Christ, no matter which denomination, should always be united in the love of Christ. We should always lift each other up. We should put each other before ourselves. We cannot have infighting in inside the. Would that be tolerated in heaven? No. And I just hate to see the arguments pop up over doctrine, over doctrine interpretation, and it is. It's hard to watch, and listen to people argue over things that are worldly. We must keep our heads in the Spirit, not in this world. We must keep our treasures in the Spirit, not in this world. And I just wanted to say that just to help clear the air, because none of us are perfect. None of us, all of us make mistakes. But we just must always be on guard at this time, as we live in the toughest times, some of the toughest times, if not the toughest time ever. Everything is the deception. Everything is attacking us from all sides. We talked about this, the food, the water, the TV, the entertainment, everything that we see around us pretty much is worldly. Our friends, most of us, our families, some of us, we see this. We talk about this, and we must keep with the Lord and never stray. And I just want to say, lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. It is very important. It is through that, and it's the example of living like the Lord. But moving on to some news.
Yeah, and by the way, one thing we would like to do as we get close to the top of this hour, folks remember back in 1961, and look, to understand what's going on today, it does us good to look back in history. And one thing that Joe found, and through his research today, I think it's very important that one thing that really fits what we're seeing today unfold is the April 27th, 1961 speech by then President John F. Kennedy. And this speech was given, I believe, at oh my goodness, I think this speech was given at I know it was at the Waldorf Astoria. I'm trying to think. Oh, it was at the American Newspaper Publishers Association. Folks, have you heard this speech in its entirety, or at least the germane clip from the speech? This is where John Kennedy warns about secret societies, and warns about more than that. He warns about the infiltration of communism. Okay, now people have a tendency, by the way, to kind of memorialize JFK, to think about him as like one snapshot in history, 43, 44 years old, 45 years old, a young, vibrant man, and that's how we remember him. And of course, right now he'd be 100 years old, maybe, or 90-something years old. But having said that, at the time, the significance of this particular speech, I believe, was lost on a lot of people. And I think the message here is that telling the truth can be extremely hazardous to your health. And I think that this, in fact, was the message by John F. Kennedy. Now, again, forget about the fact that he was a Democrat. Forget about the fact that, I mean, it's irrelevant. His political party affiliation is basically irrelevant. The message here is important. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this clip. It's a 5-minute long clip. I'd like everyone to listen to it. It's 5 minutes and 23 seconds. I'd like everyone to listen to it and think back or put yourself in the time period in which it was given. Again, this is April 17th, I believe it was, 1961, or whatever date I said. Yeah, April 27th, 1961. The president and at the American Newspaper Publishers Association at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And it really needs, I cannot think of any better summation of what's currently taking place in a number of different covert avenues, areas, than what Kennedy had spoken about. So with that, we're going to play this clip, go to break, come back, and resume your phone calls. But we're going to have some discussion as well about the significance of this speech. Take a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was John F. Kennedy from April 27th, 1961. And I think that's a very important 5-minute speech. Now, with that, we're going to go to break, come back, talk more about that, its relevance for today, the fact that at that time it was given we were in a Cold War, and where are we at right now? Cold War about to go hot.
Yeah, as China's yuan hits record high amid U.S. pressure, and we have other news on the other side. You're listening to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Friday, October 12th. Stay with us for our final hour.
And you can find us at HomelandSecurityUS.com.
And don't forget, call in.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your number one priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the brick pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP brick packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com. Or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
Hold on to your seat. The Hagmann and Hagmann flight is now taking off. Doug and Joe Hagmann have cleared the runway of TSA agents, jihadists, political crackpots, and global elitists. Now get ready for some real news. Here they are, Doug and Joe Hagmann.
Ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 3 of this Friday, October 12th edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Some announcements, or one announcement. Folks, remember this Sunday,
Don't forget
to midnight Eastern Time, we will be joined by Steve Quayle, and we will be talking about some very important things. I know many people have asked for Steve to come back on because they have questions and concerns, and I'm sure he will clear a lot of that up and much more, as he usually does. Sunday, the 14th, from 9 to midnight Eastern Time. Don't forget.
PM, by the way, that's PM. 9 to midnight, 3 hours worth of Steve Quayle Unplugged. I'm really looking forward to that. I think Steve's got, Steve is a brother to me, and I'm so excited to have him coming on. And man, it's just fabulous. But folks, I'd be really interested to think to get what you think about the JFK speech, which you heard, and I know people have played the speech before, but again, think about that speech in the context in which it was made. The Cold War, 1961. You had a lot of things leading up to that speech. The speech about secret societies, but there was also a segment in there about infiltration.
Yeah.
And that infiltration is what we're seeing today. I really believe, and this is my view of this, the very type of activity that was being warned about in 1961, specifically the communist infiltration into our government, is taking place today. And I say that because we've got Barack Hussein Obama, a Muslim communist. When I say Muslim, I mean Muslim by lineage, and also by word, action, and by word and deed. Certainly, the bolstering up Muslim Brotherhood. Communist because where else? What other president have we had who's basically honored people like communist dictators, as we had the ornaments on the Christmas tree, and of course his friendship with people like Hugo Chavez and other revolutionaries. He's a revolutionary. His mentor, Frank Marshall Davis, was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party USA. A 601-page FBI file on Frank Marshall Davis. So all of these things put together would legitimately and without hype paint him or allow that label of communist to be there. And with that, so you've got a Muslim communist facilitator, and pushing this communist agenda by the degradation of the United States, lowering the standards of the United States, defanging or basically taking the U.S. out as a world power, and pushing the Muslim Brotherhood agenda through the globalist, in particular the Middle East. So all of this together, this is what we were being warned about. And for those of you who are joining us now, or that weren't with us on the first hour, again, what we're seeing is in right now is we're at the precipice of the Third World War, World War III. We are now fighting a proxy war that is United States and Russia. And the red line for Russia is, in fact, Syria. What happened in Libya is of extreme importance because that was a shot across the United States bow. In fact, a shot into the ship of the United States by the murder of the ambassador and 3 other Americans. And we have to understand what that's all about. And again, that's all about taking the country down by attacking our money supply, our economy, which the fiat dollar or the dollar right now is tied to oil, nothing else. And once we lose that distinction, our monetary supply as well as our sovereignty will go out the window. That's what it's all about. And people have to understand that. I can't sound the alarm bells any louder than that.
And also part of this is the cybersecurity talk we have been seeing for the last few years that is ramping up. And Leon Panetta, we played his speech where he talks about passing CISPA is necessary to avert a cyber Pearl Harbor. And reading through his statements, one of the most, a couple of things stick out to me, but one of the most, or biggest lies, the most egregious things he says here is what this will do if they do pass the CISPA. He assures the American people that in no way will their personal computers or will Americans be monitored. And also, let me find this.
Does that make you feel better by those assurances?
Yeah, and he says this, before September 11th, 2001, the warning signs were there. We weren't organized. We weren't ready. and we suffered terribly for that lack of attention. We cannot let that happen again. This is a pre-9/11 moment. Now that, to me, says a lot. And
yeah, what's he warning about? I mean, a pre-9/11 moment. So a false flag operation type thing, perhaps.
Yeah, and could you see how this would unfold? Where breaking news, Iran cyber attacks all U.S. banks, all savings and deposits gone, and then blaming it on Iran. How many people would be screaming war, war, war? It's just. And going back to the Stuxnet virus, this was something that was blamed on. Was it blamed on Iran, or it was blamed on
Israel and then the United States ultimately? But there were many attempts to use that, to facilitate that, to blame it on other foreign interests. But look, we've already seen the attacks on our banking system to the extent where. There were hacking attempts and successful attempts at breaching our monetary or electronic monetary system. But the manner in which those were done, it was done in such a widespread fashion where the next type of attack, instead of like a direct denial of service attack where you would not be allowed to, or you'd be prevented from accessing your balances and such via computer or via ATM, the next type of an attack certainly would be the looting of your money out of your bank. And Ann Barnhart warned about this, maybe not directly in those words, but that's one of the things Ann Barnhart said.
Yeah.
And so expect this, the possibility. I mean, I personally would not keep more money in the bank than you need to pay your bills for 1 or 2 months. I would find other places to keep your money. And really, what motivation do you have with the zero interest policy currently?
Right.
You don't have much.
You're vulnerable. You're leaving yourself open for a scam, to be robbed. It's like leaving your front door open and unlocked and open wide in the middle of the night. Now, it never used to be that way. Going back to the cybersecurity Panetta deal, he said, the only way to effectively protect the U.S. democracy is to pass a cybersecurity bill. And we know that Congress and the Senate voted against the CISPA, or the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection legislation, amid complaints that it gravely violated personal freedoms and could be used to spy on citizens. And Panetta claimed that the laws would not violate the people's rights or liberties, that there is a code. If there's a worm that's being inserted, we need to know when that's happening, he told the New York Times in a speech. Despite widespread opposition, the Obama administration said it would just sign an executive order forcing companies to install the new cybersecurity standards. So it doesn't matter what Congress says, the Senate, or the people. Obama will just executive order it away.
Yeah, that's that's true. Don't forget, the 139 executive orders signed by Obama in 40 months include all aspects of transportation, all aspects of everything. Every part of our life is included in the 139 executive orders, including the Internet as a communications tool. So we have to be very, very concerned, very wary about what's going on here. Could we, in fact, be throttled? Yes, but I think it's going to be more economic than it is informational, because don't forget, this president uses the Internet as a tool to reach out to his supporters. And also the Internet is being used for these, and I will say this, very likely illegal donations from foreign countries, from foreign donors. I mean, to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars that he is getting via the Internet from foreign donors. And all of this lacks any type of oversight and any type of audit. So this is so important. Obama is being supported by foreign interests. America as a nation has been captured. We are a captured nation as it stands right now. And people don't understand the significance of those words. Please understand, we are a captured nation. We have been taken over from within, just as the communist element from the Cold War had warned about and said that they were going to do. Folks, we have their playbook, the Alinsky playbook. We've got that, the rules for radicals, the communist goals from 1963, all of these. Mm-hmm. If you look back in history, look at what, and this is why history is so important. Boy, I wish I would have paid more attention to history when I was in school. You know, I really do, because it would make my job today a lot easier. But when you start looking back in history and seeing the checkpoints, various checkpoints, and I'll call them as opposed to, you know, the periods of time, and that gives us a kind of insight into the future checkpoints. For example, instead of dates, instead of saying, well, in October, November, this is going to happen, December, no, there are checkpoints in history, not necessarily dates. They're two separate things. Now, that said, in Constance, by the way, from Bordeaux, France, I want to thank Constance for sending me this. She said, after we played the JFK Secret Society speech, she wrote to me, and I just want to say thank you, Constance. She said, I know this speech. I have written this speech down word for word and have this in my office on the wall. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that, you know, and Constance, as we know, is someone who's very well versed in both history and current events. And I you know, she's our, and I refer to her kind of tongue in cheek, but not so much, as being our European correspondent. I believe that she serves that office very well. Again, because she's knowledgeable in a lot of things and sees things from an international point of view. Don't forget, she's, you know, her husband's family is from communist China, so they understand the communist element, and this is so important for people to understand. It's just so important for. But anyway, I just want to say, you know, thank you, Constance, for that. But my goodness. And folks, do me a favor. This is kind of a housekeeping issue at the moment, if you don't mind. Do me a favor, and if you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, that's HomelandSecurityUS.com. Click on the promo for Steve's show Sunday night. Really, I'd like to get that out into the blogosphere or into the social networking. Share that, like that, if you will, on Facebook. You know, click the like button for Facebook, and even send that and what have you. That way it gets the word out. That's for Sunday's show with Steve Quayle. I think that it's going to be a landmark show for Sunday. I really believe it's going to be a landmark show. So with that, I just want to, you know, pass that, or ask you, and I'll post the link in the chat room, but I just want to ask you that favor. But moving on, we should any pending calls we should take, Joe. I think if that's all right, we'll go to the phones. Area code 910. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann report.
Yes, this is Roberta. I wanted to bring up the topic about the bracelet for the TSA when you go onto the planes.
Okay.
If this is such a good idea, you know, to zap a terrorist, why don't they use it in prisons?
It's a good question.
You know, people need to open their eyes up and look at the whole picture. I mean, they're treating us like prisoners.
Yes, they are.
Yet they're not putting it on the prisons, you know, the prisoners. You know, I don't understand why people don't grasp that.
No, it's a excellent observation, and well, we do need to be.
I think I can answer that, though, because with prisoners, you've already got a captive audience. You've already got the conditioning and control. If it was about security, if that's what it was really about, you would have that in the prisons. You would have that in situations where, like things like that. But
that makes it worse in my mind, because that's saying,
That's saying we're prisoners and they're not, basically.
Well,
I mean, they talk about how, the prisoners make, nice and etc. Why don't they have video cameras in their cells?
Yeah, and it seems like, if they wanted to sell the public on it, I mean, really, they would have to, implement it in prisons to show that it worked. But the public are so will accept anything. They don't even have to go through those measures anymore. And I really believe this. They could come out and say, for most people, give a crazy law, like you can't leave your house after 7 at night or something like that. Except if you're an Obama supporter, or you do this if you carry around your RFID card, and people would accept it. I mean, or sit in their house.
Well, if we accept the bracelets at the airport, eventually you're just gonna be issued a bracelet, and every time you're out of line, they're just gonna zap you.
Yeah.
You go out of your house at night when you're not supposed to, you're zapped.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to look at the big picture here.
Well,
and not just stay in the box that they want you to be.
Boy, I love that. Yes. See, we're so conditioned not to open up our eyes and look at the big picture. We're so conditioned to we're like, and I don't mean this in any demeaning sense, but we're like in a way cattle, because we're directed to certain things. And one thing that I want to kind of get your take on, because you mentioned this about the big picture. Isn't it interesting how our belief systems have been molded, and we've got a certain belief system. If you're born in America, you just have a certain belief system that you grow up learning about, and you're taught about it in college.
And that was in part of his speech.
Yes.
And we are losing this.
But how do we get it back?
We had followed them so long, trusting in them, that we lost where we came from.
Yeah. Is there a caller? How do we get it back? How do we get that? How do we stop?
I don't know if it's possible now.
I agree 100%.
I don't know.
I would say it is not possible with this level of.
I'm a believer where there's life and where there's breath, there's hope.
Yeah, all things are possible through God.
And we do have a hope, and that's in Jesus Christ, God's only begotten Son.
Right. Exactly.
That's what our hope is.
And
our hope is not in this life.
No, that's
because
exactly
this life is going to be gone. And the Lord did prepare us with things that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it just amazes me that, they want to keep you in a box. They don't want you to look outside. They just want you to follow them. And it's like the world is like a maze, and they don't want you to get out of the world system.
That's a good way of putting it. It is the world system. The system.
Every time you try to get out, you're blocked.
Yeah.
Because, they have trained us to think this way.
Yes, and I find myself in this.
And if you bring that up, then people want to talk about something else, but we are trained, just like we are trained when it comes to health. And this is something else that needs to be brought up, because what we call the Obama health care, when it goes to the, I believe it's in paragraph 1, section B, when it talks about the Class A device that is implantable.
Right.
People I ask people this, and they tell me, well, I've got to have my medicine. I've got to see the doctor. Well, I gather you're just going to get that implantable data implant, whatever that might be. But I believe it would probably be the chip.
Well, we've had a lot of discussion and have done a lot of research about this. And in fact, my neighbor, I'm happy to say that he had a pacemaker put in a couple of years ago, and of course he just today had a new one put in, or whatever they do to fix that. But what alternative is there at this point, given the mandates by the healthcare bill? What do we do? Do we not, take life-saving measures, or,
Well, that's up to the individual. But, we no longer have prayer in school, and government took over the schools because we said nothing. We done nothing. We allowed it to happen.
Exactly.
Step back.
And last, I remember a comment.
Because we are trained to do it this way.
Right. But I remember a caller from last night, saying that there was a 3%, only 3% of the population of America at the time were, really involved in standing up and against against England, the King of England, and involved in the American Revolution, and I think that if that would happen today, I think there'd be a less than 3% number. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but we're losing ground in that, aren't we?
Well, I think basically too, because we know that, I don't know when Christ will return. Only the Father knows. But he forewarns us of these things that are happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he even says that, you're going to give up your life, for me. Well, maybe that consists also of not taking that implantable data chip when it comes to the health care. When are we going to actually rely upon Christ? Or are we always going to rely upon the world system, which eventually will be the beast system throughout the world?
That's true. Yeah, boy,
I mean, are we going to just let them chip us because we need our medicine? We need our. I mean, that's something that someone's got. Everyone has to think about.
Right,
because it's coming.
But caller, okay, no, but I want to make. I really want clarification on this. Getting this transmittable class 3 or whatever device from a medical perspective, it's my understanding, and we've had this discussion before, where the mark of the beast or the chip system, if that's how we want to talk about it.
Well, I'm not saying it's the mark of the beast.
Okay.
But it is allowing the next step to come in.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Okay, because I was going to say you really can't be.
So I mean, that's just like we said nothing when it came to one lady and a few others that wanted the prayer taken out of school.
Oh, good point. Great.
We said nothing. It's like, well, it's okay. My kids can pray at home. It'll be okay. Well, how many children are praying at home now?
Great point.
Let's go back to the speech that you had put on air. They try to forewarn us. We're losing where we came from in the beginning. Just like the Bible also says that we will lose our first love. And who is our first love? Jesus Christ. We care more about what the world has to offer.
Yep.
Than what Christ's system has to offer.
You're exactly right. And it starts at the most minute.
We take this implantable data chip. Well, that just opens another door. Just like everything else, we overlook. We put it under the table.
And we can say that about the airports. We allow the groping. We allow the nuking.
Yeah.
You know, and because maybe only
all because we got to go somewhere.
Yeah, well, true. But if everyone stood up, or at least the majority of people stood up and said, "No, enough. We're not gonna do this," the globalists, the people with the agenda, would back down. But the problem, I believe, is being able to corral or to convince or to get enough people to stand up and say, "No, we're not going to comply."
Well, yes, this is true. We're saying that if we get Mitt Romney in, it will slow the process down. We want everyone else to be able to do what we should be doing.
Wow, that's kind of an indictment, and a well-deserved one at that, because it's often said that we work for, earn the governments that we deserve. Or I slaughtered that quote, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, basically, too, if you read Isaiah 5, this is what's happening in America right now.
Okay.
The Old Testament was written for our example.
Okay.
And this is happening in America. We don't want, I do, but I'm talking about ones that, they're not interested in what God has to say. They're only interested in what God has to say if they want that.
Yeah.
But if they don't want it, they're not interested. They're still a Christian.
Right. They can justify
passively
anything,
yeah,
any one of their beliefs that they do not like, anything they don't like that are in God's laws. They can find somebody who preaches against it nowadays with the internet, the TV, the itching ears, the people who, go after not the true doctrine.
I got to tell you, I never really got the itching ears part, except that's a metaphor for the learning or the desire for wisdom, right? Or
well, basically, itching ears to me is they want to hear only what they want to hear,
yeah,
and that justifies them, even though in God's Word it does not justify them. But yet they're hearing it from the high up.
Okay.
The pastor, the preacher, the pope, etc.
Okay.
So that makes it okay. I'm justified.
That makes sense to me now. Okay, I understand that context in which okay, that's very good. Wow. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Again, it's a gradual, but now not so gradual conditioning in of people to the extent where we're really, man, we've got a long way.
This healthcare thing, this implantable data, people need to think about that.
Yeah,
they need to think about it.
And, whether it's the RFID technology is the mark of the beast or not, it's still completely out of bounds when it comes to, your right to exist without being monitored.
Well, with this implantable data, you're allowing them to take over your mind and your body. They can't take over the soul yet, but they can take over your mind. They can take over your body, because that's what medicine's all about.
Interesting only to the because it's.
So if you don't need a pill, oh well, you're getting one.
Yes.
If you need this operation, oh well, you're not getting it. How many pills are they going to pass out?
Yeah, healthcare
control or to dumb us down. Well, not to mention all the vaccines and stuff.
Right. I think the dumbing us down has been gradually, or not so gradually, done over the last generation, at least the last generation or two, and done with great efficiency by the globalists, by the people, that, so I agree with that.
The globalists or whatever that wants this beast system to take over completely.
Exactly. And you know what, caller, because one thing that I didn't understand too, and this does kind of mesh with what you're saying is, and I mentioned this yesterday, when these people, like, for example, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers or whatever globalists we're talking about, what is it that they want if they have everything right now? Although they're spiritually bankrupt, from a worldview or from a corporal temporal view, what more could they possibly want? And I believe this, that in their mind they're buying the future, and people might have to take a while.
Well, what it all boils down to is they want to destroy the DNA that God created, whether it be plant form, human, anything that has DNA that came from God, they want to destroy.
I avoided going there, but thank you for bringing that up, because you are absolutely correct. Anything that's coming from God, whether it's the human bloodline, the DNA, and Steve talks about this a lot. That's right.
Well, even the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom,
yep.
They are destroying the DNA by adding, by hybriding, Satan wants to duplicate God's creation in his creation.
Right, because God made a promise to us of mercy and salvation and I know I'm going to slaughter this, but of his people, and his people are of the Adamic bloodline, if you will, the DNA of Adam, and when that's corrupted, that puts God in a position where either he would have to break his promise, or I know it. There I go. I just slaughtered.
Well, to me, God says that he will come back before, all human end up dying, so to speak.
Correct.
Before his original creation of the DNA is destroyed.
That's right.
Just like in the days of Noah, when they mix seeds with even the trees, the animals, the humans.
And
Satan wants to destroy God's creation.
And you've got such a great handle on this. Let me ask you this. I mean, does this not speak to why in the book of Genesis there's that, Adam begat, this delineation of this family tree in the book of Genesis? Because it's establishing the bloodline, or the DNA line, or whatever you want to call it, of God's people. Am I wrong on that, or am I off on that, or is that one of the reasons why that's included in the book of Genesis?
And your question was what?
I couldn't even articulate a good question. In the book of Genesis, in the opening words of the book of Genesis, let me just really quick go to it real quick here. It in the beginning, when God created heaven and earth, and so on, the story of the creation. But then it goes on in the book of Genesis about laying the foundation of the heavens and the earth, and then it goes into the generational. I'm trying to think of the word. The generational part of
the genealogy.
Genealogy. For example, unto Enoch, for example, was born Irad, and Irad beget so-and-so, and it goes on and on and on. And I've always wondered why in the book of Genesis.
I would imagine it talks about, the generation, so that we will know that Christ came from the generation that he was supposed to come from. Right.
But to me, that also strengthens...
Or the bloodline, one would say.
Right, and that, because I wondered, why is this even included in here? But it establishes that, what God created it continued through this bloodline, and it's really kind of heady, to think this, but it establishes that the pure God DNA through the generations. But at one point, that man had, as you had mentioned, altered or corrupted the DNA of man, and now animals and plants and so on are getting away from God. So I'm kind of tapping into your knowledge, but I think you answered my question, which, thank you. Did I make sense there? I probably didn't, but
yeah. But anyways, we all need to start thinking about these things because, we just need to.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Is there
And if, I don't know, there probably won't be very many. But.
Yeah, well, you know what? You've been a great caller. Thank you so very much for listening, and I can't thank you enough. Anything else before you cut you loose?
No, that's about it. And I thank you both for allowing the Lord to use you all in the way that He is, because you are, bringing people to Christ, and you're opening people's eyes to the big picture.
Well, we're trying.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And folks, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to present the current events through the biblical worldview, through the spiritual realm, through the God's Word, because you can watch the news and look at all this stuff that's happening. But if you don't do it through the context or through the prism of biblical, the Word of the Bible, then you really, to me at least, it would be difficult to understand. Number one, if you look at a situation that takes place and you think, well, wait a minute, we can all hear the news, just like we can, kind of like history. You can go into class and you can study dates, and you can memorize all sorts of dates. You're in school. Remember that, folks? Remember being in school? The teacher would throw out a bunch of dates. You got to memorize this for the test. But the context of those dates, or the context of those events, when you look at them, not only from a secular point of view, but when you look at them through the prism of the Bible, it gives you that extra special one-up on everybody else. And I think that's so important. I think that's what we got to look at. That's why we're doing this. And it's really not us. And I sometimes I wonder if we are not doing a good enough job. We need to do a better job at that. I think a lot of Steve Quayle. I think a lot of Henry Groover and Rick Wiles, and I just love Rick Wiles, how he presents things through the biblical worldview. And we aspire to get to that level. At least I do. And I think that's what it's all about. But so when we hear about what's taking place in the Middle East, about how the takeover of Ethiopia or Libya or of with this country or that country, we can go to the Bible and say, you know what? Look at this chapter. Look at this verse. This is telling us. This is lining up with biblical prophecy, and that gives you spiritual preparation. That's kind of what we're doing here.
Yeah, trying to, and we don't want to, and we will never, go against the Scripture or try to teach any doctrine that is not in the Scriptures. That many people do, as we see.
Do?
Many people.
Yeah, I know.
Practice
exactly.
for their own agendas.
We'll just point things out
to get followers, to get money, to be part of the evil agenda, to mislead or to deceive and mislead others and bring them down to hell with them.
That would be.
And as knowledge is increased, how much has this Bible changed? There's new versions that come out, made words changed around by men to confuse people, but we must stick to what we know, and what we know is the Lord Jesus Christ is our Savior. We cannot go to heaven but through Him, and the only way to do that is to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and to have a pure heart. And how do we attain a pure heart? Is it something that you're born with, or is it something that comes through time? I'd say both. You have people who have to work at it. Wide is the way that leads to hell, and narrow is the gate that leads to heaven. What is it? The gate in the way. And most preachers want everybody to feel good. Oh yeah, just do this, sing the songs, and come to church and give your donations once a week, your tithes, and you'll go to heaven. Others say, the Catholics, they say X amount of prayers, and this many prayers or that many prayers, no, we need to confess fully to the Lord. This is what the Old Testament and the New Testament, this is where it differs from. The Old Testament, God would speak to men from above into their ear. The New Testament, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit is inside of us. He speaks to us from within. He doesn't have to audibly speak to us anymore. But we are all born sinners until we are born again. And I just wanted to say that. I can't believe we're already almost at the end of the show.
Wow. I can't either. I just want to slip a couple of things in here. In case you haven't heard, folks, a shot was fired at the Obama campaign office in Denver today. Somebody fired a shot. Denver police are telling us that somebody fired a shot through the window of Barack Obama's campaign office. And isn't that interesting? I look at things like this and I question, whether, is this something? Is this in preparation, perhaps, for something larger? Isn't this convenient at this time? I mean, it could be just exactly what it is. But I'm of the position we should question things like this. Question what exactly happened. Is this going to be used to say, hey, you know what? It's the white gun owning, gun grabbing or gun holding, toting, whatever. It's turning this into a racist issue. Also, Bloomberg donates $250,000 to marriage equality campaign. New York City, Michael Bloomberg put his money where his morals are, and is taking the support of same-sex marriage national by donating $250,000 to support the Maryland ballot initiative aimed at legalizing same-sex marriage, saying that he doesn't believe that government has any business telling one class of people they cannot marry. Well, Mr. Bloomberg suggests perhaps we, it is what it is. Joe, did you have something here? We have more people here that want to talk, or
I'll check the phone lines in a sec. Right. I'm going to post this in chat. They released today the HHS released new cancers from 9/11. Toxins and dust from the first responders, and I have this PDF I'm going to post in the chat room. I talked to Phil, a friend of the show, a first responder,
and God bless him, and he's in our prayers all the time. Phil was a first responder that really got deathly ill from, and folks, I've seen his medical records. He sent them to me, and I got to tell you, it's all from that toxic brew. Yeah. That the Bush, and
he told me, he got into some things with me about the asbestos, PCBs, from transformers.
Think about what was
radioactive material, just among a few. We have a whole lot more in this PDF. But no, do say a prayer for all the 9/11 first responders and for Phil, as he told me he had to miss a week of work due to being sick and not feeling well. The man's been through a lot, but there are new cancers coming out from the toxins that were found at the World Trade Center demolition site. I just posted that in chat. That's out of the CDC. And also, on a lighter note, I wanted to read this.
Let's close on the lighter note, but I want to just say this, too, because this comes to us from Ontario, where home of Canada Free Press. Schools cannot teach misogynistic pro-life. Can you believe this? The Education Minister of Ontario, Canada, he's a professing Catholic who she's a professing Catholic who sends her children to Catholic schools, declared October 10th that the province's publicly funded Catholic schools may not teach students that abortion is wrong because, ready for this, such teaching amounts to misogyny, which is prohibited in schools under a controversial anti-bullying law. You see how these laws are being turned against the morality, the ethics of people? I won't even go through this, but it all revolves around a bill that was passed in June, Bill 13, which requires schools to provide a positive climate that's inclusive and accepting, regardless of race and so on. It just says that, look, you cannot discriminate. That mandates that schools, Catholic schools included, establish a gay-straight alliance or establish gay-straight alliance organizations. So it seems that these laws are going to be used to infringe even further on religious freedoms by prohibiting Catholic schools or private schools from teaching that abortion is sinful. So another rung down in the ladder of morality.
So you're not allowed to teach that abortion is a sin.
That's correct, and that's based on Bill 13 in Ontario that was passed in June, and this from the Education Minister of Ontario, Canada, a professing Catholic, no less, one who sends her children to Catholic schools.
Yeah, is that the same kind of Catholicism Melinda Gates practices when she talks about making people stop living, killing the old, the eugenics? Putting Planned Parenthood into the high schools. We know already that, in New York, they said that teaching I'm not sure what state it was, we just covered it last week, teaching confused teens on sex if they're wanting to know if they're homosexual or it's illegal to teach them in California now, for schools to teach kids about being heterosexual if they are gay.
Right. One cannot counsel.
Now they put Planned Parenthood in schools. They're giving kids abortions without parents' permissions, birth control, other forms of contraceptives. They're forcing Catholic and other Christian institutions to go against what they believe in, mandating that they give, contraceptives to their employees, even though it's against their beliefs. And this is just out of this world insane, and people will embrace this. I saw an article today where they talked about how, and I didn't watch the vice presidential debate, but apparently the issue of abortion came up, and Paul Ryan said he was against abortion, and this article, I think it was from the Huffington Post, took him to task like he was some kind of lunatic for wanting. I mean, they came at it as all the propagandists do, stating that, this is a woman's reproductive health right, she should have the right to murder her baby if she wants to. We saw the other reports, what's the word? Infanticide?
That's correct.
Where they want to start killing babies months after they're born if they are a burden on the parents or on the economy. It's just complete darkness, all sick, evil. I mean, nothing good is coming from any arms of the federal government, and it has already seeped through all the way down to all the local levels to where, you got to get permission to put up anything that differs from the mainstream viewpoints of things. I mean, remember those that document we looked at, the processing, it was the detention and resettlement operations, where they stated that you will be taught in these detention camps about your religion, but only the accepted, the worldly accepted universal agreements on the way your religion is interpreted will be taught to you. So by their standards, you will go to a FEMA camp where you will be taught Christianity that says homosexuality and abortion is okay. I mean, what has this world turned into? It is, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming in the Son of Man. And we see it, just violence, constantly, evil thoughts. The Lord said that, there will be a time in the world where every thought will be evil and all things will be bad. We are heading there on a 200 mile an hour train that's going downhill. And who's going to stop it? Who's going to stand up and say,
we all must stand.
Yeah.
We all must stand up and say, look, and I think we have to do this. I think we have to come together and say, we're not going to comply. I've seen that in the chat room, kind of a mantra. We're not going to submit. We're not going to comply. We're not going to allow this to happen. We have to, look, we have to unite under the banner of Christianity, the Judeo-Christian principles, the God, under the Bible. We've got to unite as Christians and say, enough is enough. Stop the persecution. Stop the immorality. Stop. We've got to put a stop to it. We've got to coalesce. We've got to be as a group. And I think, look, it's one thing to have like the Tea Party as a political organization. It's another thing to have whatever group as a political organization, but the main group, the real movers, the shakers, the people that are really behind this, or that should be the Christians who should stand up in unison and say, no, enough is enough. Enough killing babies, enough, or killing the unborn, enough killing, just enough. You are not going to violate our Christian principles for your political gain. And that is the key, in my view. Well, and one more thing. I want to say this. Today, it was announced that J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, and homeowners profit with help from the Fed.
Yeah, booming banks say consumers may not see lower mortgage rates.
That's the goodness. You've got two of the most valuable banks in the country, and these are the too big to fail, too big to jail banks. Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan Chase both reported massive, strong earnings. J.P. Morgan reported $5.7 billion third quarter profit, while Wells Fargo came in with a $4.9 billion in net income. So go figure. Where do these profits come from? Where did they come from? They came from the Fed, the Federal Reserve, by deliberately pushing down mortgage rates in order to spur more mortgage lending and also direct money to these banks via the Fed. In other words, out of thin air, they created this money, gave it to the banks via the stimulus packages. It's sinful. It's beyond sinful. And again, it's attack. It's going to be responsible for the debasement and demise of our currency, and of course our national sovereignty. Folks, we've got about 90 seconds left, Joe. We've got about 90 seconds left of the program.
Yeah, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening tonight. Don't forget, Sunday, Steve Quayle, 9 p.m. to midnight. Should be a great show. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Monday.
Please pass that. Please go to HomelandSecurityUS.com and click on the like button or pass it around Facebook, just so it gets some exposure, so we can, because Sunday's not our normal night, but we really need to promote that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And Monday, hopefully, we'll have our new studio.
I believe we will.
The new video and all the hard work we put in, and Christians United Broadcasting Network has also put in, and that should be excellent.
90 seconds.
Looking forward to that. Folks, have a great weekend. Stay in your Bibles. Stay humble. Stay in prayer.
And look, I want to thank each and every for spending your Friday night with us. I know that you could be doing tons of other things, a whole host of other things tonight, but the fact that you are with us tonight means a lot to us. Your emails, your messages, we thank you. We love you. You are the best audience in the world.
60 seconds.
I don't know. I feel blessed and humbled to be part of a very growing cause.
And blessed is the perfect word, but we got to give the glory to the Lord.
That's right.
This is all His doing, and we thank Him for that. And thank each and every one of you too for listening. See you on Sunday. God bless. Have a great weekend.
Good night.